Tensions are escalating in the Middle East as the US and Iran exchange fresh attacks, leading to a collapse of the ceasefire. Meanwhile, Ukraine's drone warfare intensifies, and China has launched a ballistic missile, raising global security concerns. Here are today's top 10 stories you need to know. In a significant cultural move, France has returned 23 archaeological treasures to Syria after keeping them for 15 years. This decision follows a recent visit by President Macron to Damascus, aimed at fostering reconciliation between the two nations. These artifacts, many of which date back to ancient times, represent a part of Syria's rich heritage. Their return is seen as a gesture of goodwill amidst ongoing conflict in the region. The move is expected to enhance cultural ties and promote dialogue between France and Syria. As the Syrian government continues to face numerous challenges, this act may serve to reinforce its cultural identity. In a broader context, such actions can contribute to rebuilding trust and cooperation in international relations. Looking ahead, it remains to be seen how this gesture will affect Franco-Syrian relations in the long term. In Bangladesh, authorities have initiated a relocation effort in Rohingya refugee camps after a devastating landslide claimed the lives of at least 5 children. The landslide occurred due to heavy rains, highlighting the precarious living conditions in these camps. Volunteers and officials used loudspeakers to warn residents and guide them to safer areas. This incident underscores the ongoing humanitarian risks faced by refugees who are already vulnerable. The response to this tragedy reflects the urgent need for improved infrastructure and support systems in these settlements. As international organizations continue to address the refugee crisis, this event serves as a stark reminder of the environmental challenges faced by displaced populations. Moving forward, efforts must be intensified to provide safer living conditions for refugees in Bangladesh and beyond. Cuba is grappling with a nationwide blackout as the country experiences an ongoing energy crisis. This blackout has resulted in widespread frustration among citizens, disrupting daily life and essential services like healthcare and education. The energy crisis is largely fueled by a U.S. blockade on fuel shipments, which has left the island increasingly vulnerable to external pressures and unable to secure reliable energy sources. As a result, the Cuban government faces mounting criticism for its inability to meet the energy demands of its population. Many residents are struggling to access basic necessities, which is intensifying public discontent and prompting protests. The government's restoration efforts are underway, but they highlight the urgent need for sustainable energy solutions. Looking ahead, Cuba must explore alternative energy sources, such as solar and wind power, to ensure long-term energy stability and mitigate the impact of external sanctions on its economy and daily life. Recent earthquakes in Venezuela have emerged as a significant political challenge for acting President Delcy Rodriguez. These tremors, measuring up to 6.5 on the Richter scale, have caused extensive damage to homes, schools, and vital infrastructure, leaving thousands displaced. The devastation has intensified public outrage over the government's perceived inadequacy in disaster response, as citizens express frustration with delays in aid and recovery efforts. This natural disaster has starkly exposed the vulnerabilities within the country's already strained infrastructure and emergency services, which have been underfunded for years. As the government mobilizes resources for recovery, the need for transparency and effective communication becomes critical to restore public trust. The earthquakes serve as a reminder of the urgent need for political stability and effective governance in times of crisis. Moving forward, how the government addresses these pressing challenges will be vital for its legitimacy and public support, significantly influencing the political landscape in Venezuela in the coming months. Typhoon Bavi is rapidly approaching Taiwan, bringing with it devastating winds nearing 200 kilometers per hour. In response, local authorities are urging residents to stock up on essential supplies and prepare for what is anticipated to be one of the most powerful typhoons to strike the region since 2024. This storm poses significant threats to Taiwan's already vulnerable infrastructure, particularly in coastal areas where previous typhoons have caused extensive damage. Historically, the island nation has faced numerous natural disasters, highlighting the need for effective emergency response strategies. The government is emphasizing community resilience, encouraging residents to formulate evacuation plans and stay informed through official channels. As emergency services mobilize, the potential for widespread power outages, flooding, and landslides raises alarms about public safety. Looking ahead, Taiwan's ability to withstand and recover from Typhoon Bavi will depend on the strength of its preparedness efforts and the cooperation of its citizens in facing this formidable natural threat. China has escalated regional tensions by launching a ballistic missile into the South Pacific. This provocative act has drawn widespread international criticism, particularly from neighboring nations such as Japan and Australia, which are deeply concerned about security in the Indo-Pacific region. The missile launch is perceived as a clear message directed at the United States, signaling China's growing military capabilities and assertiveness in the face of perceived external threats. This event raises significant questions about the stability of regional security dynamics, especially amidst ongoing territorial disputes in the South China Sea. The international community is closely monitoring China's military activities, which could further strain relations between major powers. Analysts warn that continued military provocations could lead to an arms race in the region, heightening the risk of miscalculations and conflicts. In the wake of this missile launch, diplomatic responses will be crucial for de-escalating potential tensions. Moving forward, a concerted effort by regional players to engage in dialogue will be essential to ensure peace and stability in the increasingly volatile Indo-Pacific landscape. Ukraine has intensified its drone warfare against Russia, launching an unprecedented 75 drones targeting critical oil refineries and ports nationwide. This large-scale attack has led to significant gasoline shortages in nearly all of Russia's 83 regions, highlighting vulnerabilities in Russia's energy infrastructure. The escalation of these drone strikes is not merely a tactical maneuver. It reflects Ukraine's strategic shift towards disrupting Russia's economic stability. In response, President Vladimir Putin has further entrenched his stance against peace negotiations with Kyiv, asserting that such actions threaten Russia's sovereignty. Both sides are feeling the mounting pressures to adapt to the evolving battlefield dynamics. The repercussions of these drone attacks on Russia's economy and energy security could have profound implications, potentially fueling domestic unrest and challenging Putin's leadership. As the conflict escalates, military and political responses will be critical. In the coming weeks, we can expect a continued focus on Ukraine's capabilities and Russia's resilience, shaping the future of this protracted conflict. As the conflict in the Middle East intensifies, oil prices have surged by 6%, underscoring the region's growing instability. This spike is primarily driven by renewed hostilities between the United States and Iran, which have severely disrupted oil tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. This strait is a critical choke point, responsible for approximately 20% of the world's oil supply. The risk of shipping disruptions has reached alarming levels, prompting Asian stock markets to slip in response to escalating uncertainty. Such volatility in energy markets poses significant risks, not only for oil producers, but also for consumers around the globe. Higher oil prices could lead to increased costs for goods and services, straining household budgets and potentially stalling economic growth. Analysts predict further fluctuations in oil prices as the geopolitical situation evolves, with many countries bracing for possible supply shortages. In light of these developments, the international community must prioritize diplomatic efforts to ease tensions and stabilize the region, as the stakes continue to rise for both economies and energy security worldwide. The United States and Iran have exchanged fresh attacks, leading to the collapse of a recent ceasefire agreement. Following President Donald Trump's declaration that the ceasefire was over, the U.S. launched a series of strikes against Iranian targets, signaling a stark shift in American military strategy. In retaliation, Iran fired 10 ballistic missiles at Jordan's Azraq military base and targeted U.S. military infrastructure in Gulf states. This escalation marks a significant deterioration in relations, reminiscent of the heightened tensions that characterized the aftermath of the U.S. withdrawal from the nuclear deal in 2018. The ceasefire had held for only 3 weeks, raising questions about the effectiveness of diplomatic efforts. Trump has warned that attacks would escalate if Iran continues to target vessels in the Gulf, further heightening fears of a broader conflict. The implications of this renewed violence extend beyond the immediate conflict, affecting global oil markets and regional stability as prices surge amid fears of disruption. As tensions rise, the international community is urged to engage in dialogue to prevent further escalation. Looking ahead, the coming days will be critical in determining whether diplomacy can prevail over military action in shaping U.S.-Iran relations and ensuring regional security. The ongoing conflict between the United States and Iran has led to significant disruptions in global shipping, particularly through the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. This narrow passage is responsible for transporting approximately 20% of the world's oil supply. As tensions escalate, oil tanker traffic has nearly come to a standstill due to heightened risks of attacks from both sides. The surge in oil prices, now reflecting a 6% increase, is directly linked to the instability in this region, raising concerns among global consumers and businesses alike. The implications extend beyond just energy prices. They are affecting supply chains and economic stability worldwide. Industries reliant on timely deliveries of goods are facing delays and increased costs, which may ultimately be passed on to consumers. Furthermore, shipping companies are reassessing their routes and security measures, leading to a potential long-term shift in maritime trade patterns. As nations grapple with this crisis, there is a pressing need for diplomatic efforts to restore peace and ensure the safe passage of vessels. The situation in the Strait of Hormuz is likely to remain a focal point for international relations and economic strategies. Looking ahead, the resolution of this conflict will be critical to stabilizing global markets and securing energy supplies for the foreseeable future. Thank you for watching. Which of these stories shocked you the most? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates.